Somebody from Bangladesh was supposed to join us, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Papri Rahman.
उनको याद दिला. If you have a phone number, then you can remind them on the phone.
We will send a email, sir.
Email is the.
I have no phone number, sir.
Okay.
Now we are live. It's
Right. So
11th session of this session, this festival, in which we will hear fiction writings. Professor Raghav Chandra ji from India is presiding over this session, and the participants are Papri Rahman ji from Bangladesh, Momita Maiti ji from India, Manisha Gochan ji from Nepal, and of course Raghav Chandra ji. A time limit is 15 minutes, so please follow the time limit.
50, is it right?
First, you kindly introduce yourself in brief, and then recite your story.
So welcome to the 11th session of the BIMSTEC Literature Festival, everybody. I am Raghav Chandra. I am a novelist, an author, and I pen columns for various newspapers and magazines. And I'm also into directing literature. So let me quickly tell you about myself. I retired from the civil service as an IAS officer and reached the top. And ever since, I've also been writing. I have written 2 novels. One is called Scent of a Game, which is based around the history of tiger poaching and endangered species. But it is fiction, although having worked so many years in the government service, when I write fiction, it appears as if I'm writing non-fiction. So I bring in lots of facts and so on into the story. Then the second book I've written is Kali's Daughter, which is based around the subject of caste and caste-based discrimination in the civil services, in which a young Dalit girl is in the foreign service and she's posted in Geneva and the UN Human Rights Commission. She has to deal with, and I'm going to tell you about the story as we come along. And when she reflects on her own life and her broken relationships, it's a love story based around the caste issue. Apart from that, I have a column with Business World magazine, and I write for newspapers. I'm also the director of the Bhopal Literature and Art Festival, which we started in 2019. We've done 4 successful editions. Each year we call about 60 authors. And this year, 13th, 14th, 15th January will be our 5th edition. We are a small boutique festival. We are not very commercial in nature, but we still manage to call about 50 to 60 authors. And it's a 2.5 to 3 day event. We have some cultural programs, and it's therefore quite an interesting session. I will now request Momita Maiti to please introduce herself and tell us about her work quickly. And then I will go to Manisha Gochan ji from Nepal. Momita, please.
Firstly, I take this opportunity to thank Ministry of Culture and SARC for inviting me to this prestigious event. I am Dr. Momita Maiti. By profession, I am a doctor, dental surgeon, attached to ASI Hospital, Boj. And also I am a novelist and I am a short writer, Bengali short writer and a novelist. I have published 7 novels, 7 books actually. And I got the prestigious Sahitya Academy Juba Award in 2019 for my first novel, Kuntol Fire Ashe. And I have been invited to Gateway Lit Fest Mumbai in 2019 and International Literature Festival Shimla in 2022. I live in Kolkata.
Thank you, Momita. Manisha Gochan ji, please tell us a little about yourself, your work.
Okay, namaste. I'm so happy to join this program, and thank you very much, the organizer, for inviting me. This is for me a very memorable moment because this is the first time I'm attending international literature program, actually. And I'm Manisha Gochan, and I do write fictions and also poetry. I have 3 books published, and one short story book is coming very soon, maybe in this month. And my 2 books were novel, and one is poem. And then this coming book is short story collection. And actually, I work for people with disabilities. And today I'm going to read the chapter of the novel that is totally written about young by birth blind men. And actually, I'm connected with people with disabilities, and actually, I always love to raise voice against discrimination. I love to say myself. I love to introduce myself as a discrimination fighter against the discrimination. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So each one of us has our own unique experiences
Right.
to share today. We have about 45 minutes between us, the
Okay.
3 of us. So we can take up about 12 to 15 minutes each. I would suggest that, otherwise it will not be possible to understand the paragraphs or the passages that we are going to be reading out. So if we can tell the story of the, in the context in which that passage is coming up also, before reading the passage, that will be useful for all of us to understand what we are talking about. So I will do the honors. My book is called Kali's Daughter. And this is the book, as you can see, Kali's Daughter. Kali is the name of a goddess, Shakti, and very popular in Bengal. She's dark-faced, and she's full of energy and power, and she demolishes all the demons of which are bad in society. And so she is worshipped very strongly by a large section and cross-section of people in India, perhaps even in Nepal and other parts of the world.
Yeah.
So Kali's Daughter is about a young girl, Deepika, who's from a lower middle class family. Nobody in her family has ever joined the civil services. And her father's dream has been that his daughter should join the civil service. She appears for the All India IAS exam and does extremely well. Against her parents' wishes, she chooses the foreign service to become a diplomat. And this is a story about the time when she goes to the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration in Mussoorie, and the training period of about 3 months there, the period after that, and the subtle forms of discrimination that she faces in her interactions with the various other colleagues of hers, some from the very higher upper caste, some from the other castes, and another friend of hers who's a fellow Dalit like her, who is in the foreign service. Her first love affair is with an IAS officer who is a Brahmin, that is the highest caste, and she falls in love with him with great difficulty, but he's very passionate about her and he wants to marry her. But the marriage does not come through because the boy's mother believes very strongly and intensely about the caste system and somehow manages to get in his way and helps him to marry another girl from a superior caste. Her relationship with her own Dalit colleague who's in the foreign service also for some reasons does not work out, and you'll have to read the story to know why it doesn't work out, partly because he's more of an activist. He's a little unusual and extraordinary in his activities, and though he joins the foreign service and is posted in Havana and Cuba, he falls out and does not do as well as the others in the foreign service. The book begins with Deepika posted in Geneva in the Indian Permanent Mission to the United Nations. And the mission is also tasked with dealing with the UN Human Rights Commission. And in the story, the UN Human Rights Commission has brought out a very scathing criticism of caste-based discrimination still prevailing in India. And the government of India and her ambassador and all her colleagues, they are very serious and they are very upset, and they have to prepare a strong refutation to the UNHRC report. Deepika, being the second secretary looking after UNHRC, has to prepare the first draft. And while she's preparing the draft, she's feeling very upset because she's reflecting on her own broken relationships, which have broken because of caste. And so I'm going to read out two passages about Deepika and what she's thinking and how she's feeling. And I'll be very happy after you all have read your passages to answer questions, or if you want me to answer questions, I will answer them right away. So I have about 10 minutes more, and I will just quickly read out as much as I can. So Deepika watched Aman as he stroked the brass peacock she had kept on her side table. He seemed my name is Raghav Chandra. Somebody asked me to rename myself.
No, sir. Please continue, sir.
Okay. So she watched Aman as he stroked the brass peacock she had kept on her side table. He seemed a sincere person. She decided to test him. Rajesh was already aware, and he had become more cold towards her after she had confirmed to him about her caste. She couldn't risk concealing her background any further with Aman because Aman loves her. She says, when I was in school one day, my father informed me that my name would no longer be Deepika Chamar, but Deepika Thakur. I was totally stunned. She expected him to drop the bird and waited for him to react, but he didn't. She stared at him. He didn't say anything at all. So, he said, continuing to stroke the peacock, his tone was commanding. This sudden and unexpected loss of personal identity, which I had lived with from the day I was born, even if it was the subject of slights, like brown being called pink or like a circle being described as a square, was quite shocking, she said. The new surname, who chose it? My father, as recommended by his senior, who said he should have one that suited his build. Not such a big deal. People do change names. I'd like to be just called Amandeep or even Aman. But, so Thakur isn't your original surname? Chamar, she stared at him, her eyes wide open. He did not blink. The leather people, he said with a mischievous grin. Leather is very fashionable, very chic, so very international. She could not smile and continued with clinical resolve. I asked myself, how can I suddenly become a Thakur? Conversely, can a Thakur also become a Chamar? How can I explain this to my classmates Anil and Arti Thakur, who were already Thakur? In the past, they used to smirk every time my old surname was uttered. He kept the bird down and raised his head and added a tiny bit of sugar to his tea. He now gazed into her eyes. I've been bullied too in school. I was a pampered kid, a mama's boy. She decided to be more forthcoming. Her worst fear, she explained, was that they would take this as an admission by her father and by inference she herself that there was indeed something dark about her people. Wasn't that why they had engineered to adopt a new surname to improve their social standing? Not surprisingly, barely a few days later, Anil Thakur mocked me in the presence of other kids. She has shed her chamadi, he said, like a snake. She said she had accepted that with a resigned shrug. Chamadi meant skin. She had indeed dropped hers, both literally and figuratively. And so this goes on. And I'll read one more connected passage. And she's talking about her life in her class and the bullying which takes place and so on because of her dark complexion, because she was a Chamar. She had been much darker then, perhaps because she was leaner, almost gangly, and spent long hours playing chupan chupai and gen thadi in the sun. And she had long, jet black hair that she tied around into a tight knot when out of class. She could outpace all the kids her age, even the boys, and beat them in all kinds of sports. Some of them had composed a funny line that they would sing in unison to tease her when she performed well. Kali Kaluti Began Luti. The dark one with a dark mind. He steals the dark fruit. That made her work even harder to be fit and outdo the bullies when it hurt them most in outdoor sports. Although her teachers appreciated her intelligence, it was a fact that they almost always allowed her to be the brunt of class jokes and treated her more harshly than the other kids, in front of whom they would be surprisingly quite speechless. She'd been assigned a seat in the last few rows, even though she was the most attentive kid and was always willing to learn new things. She was often asked to help other kids with their arithmetic and algebra, yet nobody ever helped her with her English. She'd often been rapped on the knuckles with the ruler for talking in class, even if it was to answer another kid's queries or for the slightest mistake in English spelling. But for similar mistakes, the class teacher had spared other kids whose surnames clearly defined their higher social status by merely waving the ruler in the air. Invariably, the other kids were preferred for the school team, whether it was for the inter-school elocution contest or the selection for the sub-district Republic Day marching contingent. One afternoon, when she was about 12 and had dared to sit for an English class in one of the middle rows, a girl who had developed a habit of bullying her by tugging at her long hair, pulling out and hiding her hair clips, snipped off a long part of her pigtail with scissors she'd smuggled in from home. She was abetted in the beastly escapade by another girl who often teased her about her dark complexion and skeletal frame. She had been in love with her long, black, and shiny hair. Commencing with a high-pitched scream which had elicited an equally frenzied shriek of laughter that was echoed from different corners of the room, she had continued to weep for a long time at the calamitous loss. At that age, loss of long hair was as tragic as death. She complained emphatically to the class teacher, but to add insult to injury, instead of sympathizing with her and taking the culprits to task, the teacher had sniggered at what had happened. When Deepika had protested, the teacher slapped her for deliberately not tying up her long hair, insinuating an unkind intention to provoke jealousy amongst other girl classmates. Later, she'd learned that both the kids were relative of Mrs. Shukla, the teacher. She had stormed home, screamed and cried before her grandparents. They had accompanied her to school, but the teacher had refused to meet them even as they kept waiting in the corridor for almost a full day. She remained dejected for a long time. Initially, she complained of recurring nausea and stomachache as an excuse to give the school a miss. Later, she wanted to drop out of that school altogether and go to a different one. But her grandparents had little heft in the matter, considering the difficulty in getting admission into that school. Her father insisted that she continue and behave as if nothing had happened. Before every major board examination in the 8th, the 10th, and the 12th class, she invariably found some critical notebook or textbook missing from her school bag. It would force her to recreate from scratch by begging others to lend their books for a day when she'd kept awake through the night, working to make up for the loss. Her doddering grandparents would be by her side, watching her helplessly, sympathy their solace, hope their promise. Many times she'd rest her head on her grandmother's lap and fall asleep, listening to stories of love and happiness about princesses, birds, animals, and wizards. The worst cut was when people insisted on knowing her caste. The clever ones knew Thakur was only a shield, a camouflage. They persisted until she was forced to reveal Chamar, and then they would sneer that they had guessed that in the first place, or smirk to suggest that a person's background wouldn't remain hidden for long. Some would taunt the academic or career prospects of a Chamar and the pointlessness of her education. The more altruistic ones would think they had done their social responsibility deed of the day just to have spoken nicely to her. Despite the fact that she's a Chamar, I wasn't rude. I spoke to her with gentle tameez. Such incidents, repeated in quick succession and continued over a long time, at times made her feel defective by birth. Sometimes she cursed her luck, and other times she wept before her grandparents. Other than offering compassion, they admitted that they were powerless and had no idea what they would do. One day, she too had hidden a pair of scissors in her school bag to eke out her revenge, but her grandmother discovered them. She calmed her anger but pulled her ears. Then her father had learnt about it and had rushed to talk to her. With a wealth of ingrained knowledge culled from years of belittling experience, he cautioned her, Dibu, we can't afford to make mistakes or annoy anybody. If we are to rise above our current status, be observant, Be calm, be patient. Yet another time, anguished by the continuous struggle to be given just treatment, she burst out crying and banged her fists against her father. How am I different from the other kids? What have I done wrong? Why should everybody be after me? He wiped her tears, pulled her hair back, and kissed her forehead. Then he consoled her. Nobody can pull us down, he said. We have God's protection. Even Gandhiji said that we are Harijans, God's own people. So I am God's own woman, he said with tears in his eyes. He held her cheeks in his palms and gazed into her eyes with a feeble smile. You're Kali's daughter. Thank you. Mamita, now I'll request you to tell us about your book or any one book and read out some passages from that.
Momita, you please unmute yourself.
Okay. Okay, now I will be reading out a story written by me, which has been summarized as the time allotted is limited. The name of the story is In Search of a Best Lover. The letter was quite surprising to me. Even after going through it for a couple of times, the issue was not clear to me. Jagrata is a very well-known NGO for women, especially those who are struggling. Their activities are really admirable. Acid victims, girls, women suffering from marriage issues get Jagrata by their side for all forms of assistance, from legal help to getting a job. Surprisingly, this Jagrata, in collaboration with a ladies magazine, has organized an event named In Search of the Best Lover. I felt surprised as to why such a serious organization like Jagrata was doing such a job. But the more surprising fact to me was that the committee had selected me as one of the members of the jury. It is true that I write sometimes for women and offer free treatment to helpless ladies. But is that enough reason for doing a job of selection of lover for ladies? As a lady love, I always got cheated. So it was really out of my knowledge why such a failed lover should be in such a list. In my childhood, I earned some money searching lies in one of my grandmother's head. After this, there was no improvement in my searching skill. When I found I was supposed to get 50,000 rupees for this event, I felt excited. 50,000 for selecting a lover? They have given a list of few names already. Besides this, they have informed me that if I have any name in my mind fit for this contest, I could let them know with details. My tea got cold while imagining about a perfect lover through my unsuccessful love eyes. Arranging for another cup of tea, I started turning over the page again. The first one is a cricketer, played very little from the country, but played for long in Ranji Trophy. He has some works even in cinema. As far as it is known, he married 4 times and he attracts more limelight for his love affairs than his cricket life. The second one is a politician who is also more famous for his love affairs than his political career. He wears dresses matching the color with the dresses worn by his lady loves. The third name is of a singer who transformed himself from boy to girl and again went back to pavilion. And all that was for the sake of love. And now, as he is a man at present, he could get enlisted. The fourth name is of a player who kicked same-side goal to please his lady love. Consequently, he took a great role in his team's defeat. Then his fan followers chased to beat him and he had to hide himself for the next 6 months. Later, he got a chance in other teams and played for them. But his credit was that same-side goal to please his beloved. Now, one of these 4 would be the best lover or any other whose name would be sent by other members of the jury. To maintain transparency, they have kept a rule The selectors won't be able to know each other before the final day. On the final day, we would face each other. And that day, on behalf of Jagrata, the selectors would select the best lover. Now the problem was on my behalf, whom should I suggest? Do I deserve to say anything, being already a failure in this case? Thinking and thinking over it. My eyes were heavy, and I had a dream of different many bougainvillea, dopati, sunflower, rose, etc. And in the context of flowers, the name of Gopal Bera came to my mind. In relation with creative writing, I came to know about him. He used to compose poems, but his main hobby was with flowers. He was a jailer. He called writers to the jail to read out their work. He called me a couple of times. He was in the ladies' jails in most of his service life. He once invited me to speak on Women's Day. I was impressed by the arrangements. The anchor was a criminal of defalcation case. She announced in English. Saw another lady whom I had seen recently in newspaper as a criminal accused of murdering her husband in partnership with her lover. Their method of speaking was not like convicts. In men's jail, roughness and arrogance rule. But in women's jail, things are softer. I had a feeling that I was visiting a ladies' hostel. We cannot identify them just as criminals, Gopalda said. Being surprised, I looked at Gopalda. What did he say? Yes, they are human beings, I said. Then Gopalda said, no, I did not say in the sense that they all are human beings. I engage all the convicts who come and stay here in the job of a gardener. Perhaps they have come here after killing people, doing some misdeeds. But those negative parts evaporates from my mind. That girl whom you saw, that Shuchandra, she helped to blossom such splendid rose that was never seen before in the jail. Now she will make the white rose bloom. Mitra and Apshana have cultivated such beautiful sunflowers. I will show you. See, she is Soma. She has made the balsam bloom. The tiger tree was dying. Radhika gave it to life. Now it's blooming. I was staring at Gopalda. Gopalda said, I cannot identify them with any of their crimes anymore. Each girl gets attached to a particular flower when she is in jail. Whenever I utter or hear any of their names, I remember the flowers associated with their names. One flower to one girl, sometimes to more flowers. They all are flowers to me. I cannot predict what is stored in future. But now I cannot think of them as convicts. I cannot see them as wrongdoers. They are blooming flowers. Cannot we do the same in life too? Do what? I asked. Those whom we think to be very evil, or those who have hurt or injured us emotionally, if we forget those thorny experiences with them and just remember the flower bloomed by him or her in our lives, is it really impossible? Gopalda has written a couple of poems, which I did not read with attention. None did so. But words of Gopalda stirred our hearts. In that half-dark jail, I exclaimed, Gopalda, can we go again to the garden? Taking off my shoes, I started walking on the grass, touched the flower one by one. Each flower was a girl. Some were their school life, college life, acquaintances with a first lover, laughter, then a storm from there, a cyclone, attachment with a crime. But after all, these flowers are flowers themselves. I was trying to follow Gopalda's words. I was trying to inhale fragrance of the flowers. touched all the flowers. Gopalda asked me not to touch flowers in the evening. I could notice some convicts in the distance. An evening was coming down between us. An evening that cannot be touched. Dreamy. Carrying the dream in my mind, I returned home. Waking up from the nap again, I looked at the letter of Jagrata. Once again, I tried to connect him over the phone. At first, my call did not connect. On the next try, I got someone on the other end, shared my name. I told him about the letter. Tell me, do you have any reference? Yes, I shall mail you. You can tell me now, I can take down. I paused for a minute, then said, Gopal Lal Bera. Perhaps the person who was on the other side did not expect such a name. He said, please repeat. I repeated the name. Note down Gopal Lal Bera, age 59, occupation jailer. Jailer? Yes, jailer at a ladies' jail. To be sure, he told me the name and wanted to confirm. But I was not doing any mistake. Once again, I gave him the name and phone number. After they had noted down, I disconnected the call. Closing my eyes now, I tried to see something. Not the face of the 59 years old man, not the face of any girl, not the face of any angel, not even the scene of the garden. What I failed to ask, just fragrance blooming in the darkness. Fragrance of lots and lots of lots flowers. When they all mingle, the whole human being can be transformed into redolence and fragrance.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you, Mamita. That's very nice, very interesting, lovely usage of words and language and thoughts. I will now request Manisha Gochanji to please explain us your story, the context of the narrative, and then to read out a passage or two whenever you are okay. Yeah. Manisha.
Thank you, Razovsha. Yes, I'm going to read the chapter from this book. This is White Cane. White cane, blind people used to work here. This is all about the young blind man, the relationship and his struggle and his dream, everything. And sometimes people actually it happens because of they thought it happens in it raises different issues like relationship, love, that kind of feelings. Yeah. And here I'm going to read the chapter from here. Okay. This I'm feeling like a little bit of a time constraint. That's why I'm going to read the chapter from this my book. Okay.
Yeah, you have about 15 minutes, so take your time. Yeah.
But I'm a little bit nervous. Okay. This is all here. The main character's name is Hashut. Hashut is by birth blind who is raised in hostel, and his all education is funded by a foreigner, like a godmother. And it's very difficult in Nepal for people with disabilities to be independent. But here, Hashut struggles a lot to be independent. In this novel, I try to escape Bhashut as a hero, not like a pity boy. Yeah. Here I'm going to read this chapter because this is a Dia character he met in his work when he is in his working time, and then both met in a field visit, and they fell in relationship, and then this okay, a little bit. And this chapter is It's the conversation between Pashut and Dia. And okay, I'm going to read this chapter.
And who's Zia?
Dia is a girl. Actually, Bhasut is relationship with Shulava. Shulava is a real girlfriend, but in the during the working time, he met a girl Dia. He's Dia, and
Okay.
okay. Okay, the doctor is in the cold, lined eyes. The prickly heat of the sun stung as soon as I got off the plane. I got startled. It felt as if the heat of the ground has pierced through my shoes and burning my soul. In the meantime, Dia cut my hand, but I felt the heat prickly then her warm touch. We started moving ahead, but I felt our walking somewhat unusual. Is this your first time? I asked her. No, I have been here many times. She didn't understand my question. Is this the first time? I repeated. No, haven't I told you? I have been here thrice. She again misunderstood my question. I smiled and moved with her, smiling. Other people who came along with us were also moving ahead, and there I accidentally got hit onto someone. Sorry, Dia apologized to the person and told me, this is my first time, so there is irregularity. Please understand, okay? This time I got a good humor. I was in fact expecting this very answer. I got the answer, but she had no idea when I questioned her. Some conversations are as often as like this. And have you also been here before? She asked me. No, this is my first time. Oh, then I can show you around. This place is very nice. Some things here are extremely beautiful. The sun going down, green fields, tall mosques with their music, and the diligent, hard-working people who ride the rickshaw from morning to night. We were walking along with chatting. My face was all wet with sweat. A car stopped in front of us in a while, and we went inside it. There are many rickshaws in the street. There are also cars. Here, the motor car drivers had the rickshaw-man. There's their look. A bus nearly hit a rickshaw. They don't care at all. Oh, yes, you must have felt hurt. Here, the air is also hot. I was also startled when I came here first time. This is Nepal's hottest place. The FM says the temperature is 42 degrees. Dia was seated in my right side and blubbering. The smell of the heated soil struck my nose. For the first time, I smelled Nepalganj. The car turned left. This is Damboji Chowk. What chowk? Damboji. I mistakenly heard it as Damboji before. We have now arrived at Hotel Alia. She said in a while. We then got off. The bellboy escorted me to the room. Your room number is 405, okay, brother? He informed me and stern assent. He opened the door and handed me the key. He then took me inside and began giving the details of the room. Brother, this is restroom at the left of the main door, he said, and I felt the door which was closed. He took me a little forward. And brother, these are switches for the fan and lights at the right side of the restroom door. He pressed off one of the switches and I heard the sound of the ceiling fan spinning. The hot air inside the room started moving, and he again took me a little forward and said, here is a sofa and a tea table in its front. I filled them one by one as he told. A thin cotton tablecloth was on the table with a flower vase on the center. I felt the flower and got that it wasn't natural. He then took me to the right and told, this is your bed. There is a telephone by the left side of your pillow. You can call us anytime pressing the number 9. He left after giving me all the details. I moved straight ahead towards the bed. My hand reached a TV set and its remote on the top. I took the remote in my hand and spoke to myself. Oh, he didn't tell me about this TV. Perhaps he has no idea that a blind person can also play with the TV remote. I turned out the TV smiling, I heard the news from the local channel. I sacred a sacred fire ritual to be held for the renovation of Bageshwari temple. I sat on the sofa, keeping my luggage aside. I felt the table again and found an ashtray through which the smell of cigarette was also coming. I happened to remind the smoke of Saurabh's cigarette. He would blow the smoke at me to tease me. He needed smoking every time. I had once asked him, "Why do you always smoke so much?" To forget my loneliness. Then do get married. With whom? With the girl? With which girl? You may have liked someone till now, haven't you? There's no meaning in my liking, Buddy. Why? You don't know why? You don't know my weakness. What kind of weakness? I feel all the same. I don't want to be ignored by the other girls, choosing only one. So I had multiple relationships. I haven't been able to be free from this relationship. This continued. When a relationship bonds the heart and mind, it really becomes like a fetter. But neither I'm able to free myself nor able to free others with whom I have relationship. He had then kept quiet, and I had said, perhaps you love all with the same kind of love. When one can't find the basis for the vivid appearance of love, then he can't also tell what kind of love he is showing to someone. Yes, I'm loving them all with the same kind of love, as you said, he admitted. I pushed the ashtray under the sofa. I was feeling very hot, so intending to take a shower, I took off my clothes. My body was turned all sticky with sweat. I moved around the room naked for a while, like the early men of ancient era. The peaceful environment of my room was being disturbed by the sound of the ceiling fan. I was also hearing the shuffling of the leaves of the trees near the window, and the wind blowing from there carried the fragrance of mangoes. I moved near the window. I heard insect buzz like a bee near me, and it flew away in a moment, carrying the same mango fragrance with it. I imagined the scenery out of the window, green trees, ripened mangoes eager to fall down, the tiny clever sparrows, colorful birds, the blue sky, and the red sun. Someone knocked at the door. I thought it was the same bellboy, so wrapping just a towel around my waist, I opened the door. "Oh, gonna take a shower?" Dia asked. I got startled and felt as if the towel was loosening. I was scared and feeling embarrassed, fearing to get naked in front of her. I frequently took my hand on my waist so as not to let the towel loosen, but she just took my situation as normal and said, "Okay, you take a shower. I shall wait for you here." I couldn't say anything due to the awkward feeling. I just entered the bathroom with that feeling. I heard her humming in the room. I felt a great relief taking a cold shower in that prickly heat. I was hearing Dia's hum out. Oops, another trouble again. I had forgotten my clothes out. I wished for her to leave before I come out. Otherwise, how would I appear with just a towel in front of her again? Anyway, since there was no way, I took the courage to come out wrapping the same towel. She was humming near the window. I quickly picked up my clothes, laid on bed, holding my embarrassment, and again entered the bathroom. I felt a great relief without caring how she took it. I came out after putting my clothes on. She was now to the side where the sofa was, and so I also went there and sat. "I felt it boring to stay by myself alone, so I'm here to chat with you and kill the time," she said. "Mr. Vashut, why does someone feel so friendly all at once in the first meeting?" "Perhaps because the chemistry matched," I said, laughing. Then she also burst in laughter. The whole of my right ear got filled with her laughter. Such friends with the matching chemistry should have had met earlier. And if it had happened, the heart wouldn't have gone anywhere. The heart wouldn't have gone wayward. Why? I was lacking a friend like you. In fact, I wasn't getting what she meant. "Oh, yes, Mr. Vashut, where is your home?" In fact, what do you mean by home?" I asked instead of answering the question. "Your birthplace?" But I call the place where I grew up as my home. Then tell me as you wish. Pokhara. I did say, but was it really my home where there is a loving family? We share happiness and sadness with each other. Pokhara, wow, so nice place. She grew enthusiastic. And what about you? Where should I say? They say women have two, three homes: birth home, maternal home, husband's home, etc. My home, or whatever you can say, all is Kathmandu, Dia said. All means both husband and maternal. Oh, are you married? Yep. Don't you wear bangles? No, I don't. And Tika? Oh, I assume you make your wife obligated to wear bangles and put tika, don't you? She jokingly asked. No, no, I was just asking. I just heard married women like wearing them. But I don't like, I only use coal. She then walked towards the window. I tilted my wet head. In a while, I heard her walk towards me and she asked, what about you? Are you married too? No, I'm single. Are you are you then also a virgin guy? Dia laughed sweetly. I felt as if her laughter was teasing me. I just kept smiling and she again added that a single man can't always be a virgin, can he? I got amazed at her words because she was being open to me in this short time. What are you thinking? She asked, bringing her face close to me. I again jolted my head. And what does your husband do? He is a businessman. He is a businessman, a very busy man. You are also busy, aren't you? I joked. I have actually made myself busy. Now I am habituated and enjoy being occupied. Why? Needed to. There's no other way. She heaved a deep sigh and again went towards the window. Perhaps she didn't like to talk about her husband. She turned the conversation. Wow, beautiful Asoka trees. You know, I really like them very much. They are like men standing in the raincoat during the rain. There are many Ashoka besides my own room. Now I will go to my own room. I stood up and moved close to her. Unknowingly, I happened to hold her soft and warm hand with one hand and putting the other on her shoulder. And I spoke, we can have a good friendship. Thank you, Mr. Bashut. She then slightly embraced me and said, okay, I'm leaving now. I will come again in the dinner time to escort you. Her footsteps went slower and slower, and the door got closed itself. I wondered if she decorated the Asuka trees or Bashut's face in her coal-lined eyes. I just got blissful and lied down on the bed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manisha. That was very interesting and very pleasant, very gentle reading. So now we have about 10 minutes left. So maybe we can talk about what our future writing is going to be about and what our plans for the future are going to be. So can I begin with Mamita? Mamita, will you tell us what your future writing plans are, what you want to do, whether you have got any proposals to convert your writing into films, and what is keeping you busy and what is keeping you active? And maybe we can exchange numbers also so that we can connect with each other in due course. Mamita.
Actually, I'm not decided yet what to do or not. I'm writing and will write more and more. That's actually I'm planning to do. And sorry, I have to leave. Actually, my duty is going on. I'm in my hospital and
All right.
a lot of patients are
Oh,
waiting.
sure.
Sorry, a lot of patients
you can
are
type your
waiting,
number
actually.
in the just type your number in the chat room.
Okay. Actually, a lot of patients are waiting.
All the very best.
Okay.
No, sure. Very nice meeting you. Manisha, you can also write your number in the chat room so we can share that. Very nice being with you, Mamita. Thank you and all the very best to you.
And thank you. I have given my number. Bye.
All
Take
right.
care.
All the best.
Okay.
Thank you, Mamita ji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Manisha, would you like to mention what you plan to do now?
Now? Sorry.
I mean, what are your further plans in writing?
Okay, actually, I forgot to mention you that it was in Nepali. It is in this novel is Nepali, and this is getting translated by a girl. She is having multiple disabilities. Yeah, she's doing this, and I read, and I must say thank you to her. She's Aruna, and she's also writer. She writes for poems, stories, and I'm blessed to meet such kind of beautiful people. And I'm sorry, I was quite nervous to tell the story about about this book because it has many stories, sub stories also. I could not go in a single line to tell about the main characters, to tell about main characters. And I choose Dia here is she's bold, and she's married, but she's married and she's engaged with she was engaged in relationship, but she tried to find her own way to live her life by herself. That's why I choose this character to read here. And so, what to say?
Yeah, that's very nice. And you are stationed in Kathmandu?
Yeah, I live in Kathmandu, and I'm.
And is writing your full-time job?
No. There are many jobs behind here. Yeah.
And have you visited India?
Right now I'm
Before?
in India. Right now I'm in Mumbai.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely. So pleasure being with all of you. Thank you very much. We have had a very interesting session, and I hope the Sahitya Academy is satisfied with the way our session has gone.
Thank you, Raghav Chandra sir. Very nice session, and I also thanks on behalf of Sahitya Academy and Foswal, Adarniye Raghav Chandra ji, Momita Maiti ji, Manisha Gochan ji. Very nice session, and we hope the 12th session of paper presentation is on 12:30 p.m. So please join the YouTube channel. Thank you all, offered. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Namaskar. Namaskar.